Hi everybody, Adam here. So this week I wanted to talk about what equipment I use, personally in my own home gym. Obviously, a lot of people have been really changing their workout behaviors over the last couple of years, working out from home a lot more, and so I just wanted to go over exactly all the stuff that I use to stay in great shape all the time. I have been continually getting, in more shape over the course of this pandemic, because I have been able to stick to my training program. So without any further delay, let's get started. So the first thing here is a pair of the Power Block dumbbells. These are a set of quick change dumbbells, and there are all kinds of dumbbells like them. However, I find that Power Blocks are generally the easiest to use. They are pretty good quality, so you don't have to worry about, things like, some of the lower quality ones, for example. You can have these really cheap dumbbells with like these little screw-on collars, and if the collars slide off, then the weights can slide off and you can easily end up hurting yourself. They also only go up to 50 pounds. So one of the sort of drawbacks of quick change dumbbells is that while you can change the weight on them pretty quickly, they don't necessarily go as heavy as the typical dumbbells that you'll see in a standard gym. That's a good thing and a bad thing. Obviously, it's a good thing because it means you couldn't really do quick change dumbbells if they were, a certain weight, because after a certain point, things would just start to get very dangerous and easily fall apart. But, at the same time, obviously the point of having quick change dumbbells at home is not to have to take up all the space that you do at a gym when you've got a crap ton of dumbbells. And so, it's like, okay, that's fine. I have actually, basically I've just got the dumbbells that go up to 50 pounds. As a result, I can't really use them for things like bench presses, for things like squats, because I'm too strong to, do just like two 50-pound weights and have that be enough for me. But at the same time, I've had to rely more on just kind of different exercise variations to continue to get more, benefit out of those exercises rather than just adding weight. So I mostly use these for things like arm exercises, shoulder exercises, adding weight to other exercises, and they work really well for that purpose. They are probably the most versatile, general, all-around weight tool. They don't take up a ton of space. They can be decently expensive, especially because I've seen a lot of price gouging and lack of availability. But hopefully you'd be able to find something similar for your own use. Next is resistance bands. I have the Rogue Monster brand resistance bands, which I like a lot. They've got like a nice long loop, so you can use them for all kinds of different things, but at the same time, they also come in a variety of weights, and you can really use them to add resistance to all kinds of things, provided that you are just a bit creative with how you do it. So, for example, I add them to squats to make my squats harder. I add them to push-ups to make my push-ups harder. Those are kind of, my primary ways of adding weight on those exercises. There's also things that you can do like arm exercises, band pull-aparts, resisted pull-ups to make it easier to do pull-ups, things like that. There are all kinds of ways that you can use bands. They're incredibly versatile. They also have the benefit, of course, of not weighing very much, so they're easily portable. You can easily toss them in a bag, take them with you on a vacation and still get in a good workout and so on. Next is the pull-up bar. So I really like this particular kind of pull-up bar because it has essentially these two hooks that fold out. You can see when I do that. And essentially what that means is that it's easier to anchor on a door, provided of course you have a sturdy door. There are lots of pull-up bars that do things like they try and stretch out between the door, or these other kinds of latching, hooking mechanisms that are, less likely to be stable, more likely to damage your door. I've had absolutely zero issues with this style of pull-up bar. It's been going great. And, I've even done, weighted pull-ups pretty heavy, and it's caused, basically, a little bit of paint chipping, but no actual damage to the door frame itself. I also have a pair of gymnastics rings. You could also get yourself a pair of TRXs if you wanted something similar. And basically what that does is you can just hang it from the pull-up bar and use it to, do some other exercises, some ring dips, some rows, things like that. And also things like front lever and back lever practice, which I've been really enjoying. But, a pull-up bar, very versatile piece of equipment, really, not just for pull-ups. You can use it for all kinds of gymnastics bodyweight exercises as well. Though, of course, it is my primary way of getting a lot of my back exercise in is doing pull-ups. I've been doing a lot of pull-ups over the past couple of years. That is how I have been developing my back. I also have high and low parallet bars. Here is one of the low ones. Obviously, I'm not gonna just hold up one of the high ones for you because they're too big. But the parallet bars basically give you a lot more opportunities for doing pushing related exercises. So I use the low parallet bars to get a little bit more range of motion on my push-ups, which makes them a little bit more useful. And it's also something where, of course, I add in a lot of band resistance and I elevate my feet so I can get even further engagement of those muscles. And so the end result is, that I get really, really powerful push-ups that are really quite challenging. Then also with the high parallel bars, I use those for things like weighted dips, along with a dip belt and the dumbbells, of course. And that gives me a lot of options for training my chest. Next is a bench. Obviously, I'm not going to hold up my flat bench for you to see it. Like half the time it's like kind of in shot because I usually keep it like right here. But my flat bench, I don't need it for a ton of things, again, because I'm not really bench pressing at this point. I am too strong to be able to use my home dumbbells for bench pressing. But I use it to keep me strict on various kinds of movements. So things like bicep curls, things like lateral raises, I like to do those seated so that I can ensure that I'm not cheating too much. And then there's also things like reverse flies. There are things like dumbbell tricep extensions that are just a lot better when you do them from a bench. And so I like to have the bench for a lot of different, accessory exercises, really helps out with those. It also just gives me an easy platform to work from, to put my feet on when I'm doing something like a foot elevated push-up or something along those lines. So again, really versatile piece of equipment. I'm just not using it for the thing that most people use it for, which is bench pressing. Lastly, a piece of equipment called a flywheel box. This is, I would say, kind of the most expensive and least generally useful piece of equipment that I have, but essentially it is a box which has a flywheel mounted to it, and then you can then use that to add resistance to various kinds of exercises, kind of similar to the way that a cable machine works, except that instead of generating the resistance by simply attaching a cable to a weight stack, you are attaching it to a spinning wheel. The spinning of that wheel generates resistance, and then of course the wheel actually reverses, and then you're basically pulling against the resistance that you generated on the way up when you are coming down. And so what that does is that makes a really interesting kind of effect where it's a bit more eccentric focus. It's a bit more emphasized on the lowering portion of the movement rather than the raising portion of the movement. That's all fine, but kind of the main reason that I like using it is that it makes it really easy to add more resistance to the exercises that, in this home gym setup, I have the least ability to load up, which is squatting and deadlifting. Squatting and deadlifting, of course, are movements that people can typically handle a lot of weight on, and two 50-pound dumbbells are not going to cut it, no matter how much I try and add band resistance in to help out. So the flywheel box helps solve that problem. It is a very expensive piece of equipment. It really costs me, basically more than everything else on this list combined. So I can't necessarily recommend it to everybody. If, it's really not super important to you to be deadlifting, if it's not really super important to you to be, squatting as heavy as I do, then you can certainly make do with other kinds of variations, which is what I did for certainly a long time before I got the flywheel box. But the flywheel box is still an excellent piece of equipment, and I just like it because, again, it helps round out that one little missing piece of my workout routine and just, really completes everything else. And that really covers all of the main stuff that I use. All of that stuff is kind of the most important stuff that actually lets me do all of the major exercises that I do in order to stay in shape. There are other things, of course. I've got like BFR cuffs. I've got things like an arm blaster. I've got things like an ab wheel. I've got all kinds of little accessories that I make, occasionally use of here and there. Maybe add a bit of fun, add a bit of variety and so on. But they're really not, making a huge difference in terms of my results. They're just kind of fun things to have that I've probably wasted my money on. So I hope that this has been useful. I hope that this gives you some ideas in terms of how to assemble your own home gym. I would say that if we ignore just the flywheel box, which is obviously the most expensive piece of equipment, altogether this entire setup cost me under $1,000. And obviously it has saved me in terms of being able to work out from home and being able to not have to go to the gym, not have to pay gym fees and so on. And so that has been, a huge help. With this kind of setup, really, you could theoretically get it set up such that you never have to go back to the gym. If you really were kind of a minimalist who cared most about just, hey, what's the best bang for my buck, then yes, you could absolutely invest, like 1 year's worth of gym fees, 2 years worth of gym fees, and get yourself a home gym setup that will last you for a lifetime. That's certainly very much a possibility and could save you a lot of money in the long run. So I hope that this has been helpful. As always, don't hesitate to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you want to see in future videos. I will talk to you all next week. Have a good week.